The main character, whose name is Iveria, is in some room with the thought that now is the time. After the Empire of Geraint formed king or mined their enemies with blue fire, and became known as the Blue Magician of the legend. However, after the death of King Ephron Geraint's death, he remained a legend, leaving behind one prophecy, namely that he will use the blue fire before which his name calls us. Suddenly, one man in a black cloak appeared in front of the main character, who did not understand. The same is the girl who is in front of him. As it turned out, Iveria called his name in order to call this magician. The magician did not understand how some ordinary girl knows his name. It is she who is thinking about it. The main character also did not understand who she was, but decided that she could be called Reincarnator. Iveria was an ordinary office worker in South Korea. However, she died in a plane crash during her business trip. But after she opened her eyes, she was greeted warmly by the unfortunate Catherine, who had 5 men in this kingdom, who wrapped herself around her finger. Iveria did not become the main character, and did not even become her fish. She became a villain who failed to deal with her, and her name is Iveria Obelan. She was banned from the dukedom. He had a title. He had his own beauty, however, she had no personality. Plus, her beloved fiancé, the Crown Prince Kazian, was deeply in love with Catherine. That is why the main character wanted to deal with Catherine and change the heart of her fiancé. Well, of course, her plan was clumsy and she was immediately caught. After that, the main character was in some room where one guy with yellow hair did not understand why Iveria wanted to kill someone. And how could she even think about it? This guy turned out to be the fiancé of Iveria, the Crown Prince Kazian Geraint, and at the end of the novel, he will become king and marry Catherine. Then, the main character decided that she didn't want to marry this guy anymore, like the original Iveria would have done. And she decided that it would just be gallows as the Duke's daughter for the rest of her life. At that moment, Iveria stated that in fact it was not an assassination attempt, since Catherine did not die. Also, the girl said that they need to call off their engagement, and she wants to leave him in the social circle and just live in peace. After that, the main character got up and decided to leave this room with a request that they never meet again. After parting ways with the prince, Duke Oberon sent Iveria to Erel, which is one of the Duke's estates. It is a very cold and empty place which is far to the north, but it is ideal for a lazy life. At least that's what Iveria thought. Going inside the house, the main character began to scream because she did not know that it would be so cold here, and no one warned her. Shouting at the maids, she did not understand how they could live here, because it was simply unbearable cold. At that moment, the maid was a little scared and invited the girl to bring her hot tea. But Iveria said that there is a more important thing than hot tea, and that is why fire isn't going, since now she will freeze to death. The main character was well aware that in this place, there is only blackwood that is not very suitable for kindling a fire. This tree is so hard that it cannot even be reproduced. The first prince of the Leiden Geraint lost his mother, who was from a count family, when he was little, but not. So he became an unlucky prince who lost his position as a crown prince to Kazian, whose mother was from a ducal family. Sitting in a chair, the main character did not even know what to do. Therefore, she asked her maid, whose name is Emma, to throw firewood into the fireplace, since this is the only thing that can help her now. The maid was a little surprised and wanted to object, but the main character asked her not to worry because she can use the skeleton key. From the moment she transmigrated at the beginning of this story, Iveria will summon the mage from the book, whose name is Theoharis. Did this from some white drawing on the floor? A black silhouette of a person began to emerge. This person turned out to be a magician from the very beginning. Looking at the magician, the main character asked him if she should call him Demon Theoharis instead. This magician had white hair and beautiful red eyes, and he was perplexed because he did not understand why he was summoned. The great wizard who was known as the Founding Heroes was actually a blue flame stone demon. Geraint, who was then the founding king, signed a contract with this demon to establish the kingdom. Looking the girl straight in the eyes, Theoharis realized that the girl is a descendant of the one who wanted to become king hundreds of years ago, but he noticed that her energy is completely different from that of that king. Then Iveria said that she first wants to order a wish before worshipping him, namely she asked for his blue flame power. Hearing this, the guy began to smirk. He was very interested in why she chose ordinary fire, and why she does not want to get money, power, or fame with her help. Show your strength. The demon said that he could give her whatever she wants. She just needs to say one word, but the main character said that she just wants fire. Upon hearing this, the demon was very surprised and did not understand why Iveria chooses ordinary fire when other people chose something more interesting. The main character stated that it is very cold here and she wants to light a fireplace, but she does not have normal firewood to burn, and that is why she chose the demon when he can set fire to the fireplace. He can leave. Theoharis was simply shocked by this desire and did not understand what was wrong with this girl. Iveria asked him to get down to business, but the guy said he couldn't do it. After that, approaching the girl, he stated that the call of the demon is a life contract. Then the demon still decided to set fire to the fireplace without signing any contract. Looking at the fire, Iveria was a little upset since he said that the flame would be blue, but it did not change at all. She also stated that granting one wish before the contractor dies is very strange, and the main character called the demon a slacker. However, Theoharis stated that in reality this is not so. He also stated that the main character is the first person who asked him for a desire not to pay for it. They don't understand what the girl did. Iveria assumed something was all due to the fact that the gods erased the name of this demon from all the minds of people around the world. At that moment, Iveria declared that she would take full responsibility so that it doesn't happen to him for you, which surprised the demon a little. He was asked with surprise if he could fight with all people and everywhere. However, the girl said that she would not allow him to do this, and would just feed him and put him to bed. When he heard this, the guy fell to the ground and began to say that he screwed up. But the main character decided to cheer him up a little and said that she could do something fun. Hearing this, the demon was a little surprised and asked what she was good at. Iveria knows that the demons can accept any of her desires, and then she wants him to just stare at the wall without eating or doing anything. At that moment, Theoharis realized that he screwed up even more, since he knew very well that people would do this to him. While the guy was sitting on the floor, the main character looked early at his face and realized that it was really beautiful, and it was worth taking care of him more than that king. Iveria wanted to say something to the guy and called him Theoharis, but he asked the girl to call him just Harry. At that moment, the girl said that she wanted to make another wish. Then the demon immediately got scared because he didn't want him to look at the wall all his life. If he said that, he wouldn't even think about fighting with someone. But Iveria immediately reassured him by saying that she just wants the demon not to kill her, but rather protect her. It is also forbidden to let her die. And the last girl said that the guy stands out too much because of his beautiful face, so she asked him to change his appearance in order not to stand out. Hearing this, the guy was very happy because this is the first person who said that he looks handsome. Looking at Iveria and grinning, Harry noticed that the girl's heart was pulsing every second more and more strongly when she was next to him. He immediately realized that she could not help but notice his beauty. After that, he nevertheless decided to fulfill the desire, and in order to no longer stand out, he became an ordinary white dog. Also, demons have a soul number that connects their souls, and as a result, they can change their shape if necessary. Approaching the main character, who was shocked by Harry's new appearance, the guy asked if she liked this appearance. Playing with this dog, the girl replied that now he has become even cuter and she likes it. Basking by the fireplace, Harry did not understand how Iveria could explain to the others how she was able to start a fire, but the main character said that she was a magician, which surprised the dog a little, and Harry did not understand why she then could not kindle the fire herself. The main character stated that her magic level is 0.5, which is very, very low. Magicians operate and use magic power in their bodies, and the stronger the magic power, the stronger the magician himself. At the birth of Iveria, her magic was measured. It turned out that her level is only 0.5. At the same time, Catherine had a 9th level of magic, which the main character did not like much. After a while, servants entered the room where our heroes were, who were shocked to see that the girl was able to kindle a fire herself, and they were very happy about this, as they could finally live normally. Smiling, Iveria said that the fire was kindled only because she prayed well. In addition, she is also a magician, which also helped her. Also, one man did not understand where this dog came from in the house. At that moment, the main character said that she picked up this animal because she noticed that it was just wandering along the road, and now she wants to raise it. The butler tried to explain to the girl that the dog is too big if you should choose another one that is smaller, which the main character did not like much, and she immediately hugged the dog, saying that she was not interested in this, and she wanted this particular. After that, the butler said that first they need to look. If someone lost their dog, and if there is one, then they will need to return it. At that moment, Iveria realized that everything was going according to plan, since no one has such a dog. After that, all the servants began to approach the main character, begging her to use her powers in order to completely get rid of this cold. Also, these people started saying that they knew that the high society rumors about her were not true, and asked the girl to forgive them. Iveria did not understand why they were acting so strangely and said that she forgives. After that, the butler immediately took the fire and ran to spread it throughout the mansion, as they would finally be able to get rid of the cold forever. The main character was left in complete bewilderment, not understanding what was wrong with these people in general. Meanwhile, Arel's governor was in his room thinking about something. He thought that Iveria has with which she can melt even the dark iron, but she tries to hide it by virtue of... The man is sure that her magical power, which everyone says is very weak, is actually not so. And Duke Oberon is a strategist indeed. The Oberon family boasts a strong lineage and power that is comparable to the royal family. But what if a child was born with even stronger magic? The night has already fallen and all the heroes have gone to bed. Iveria is sleeping on her bed with Harry, who is still in the form of a dog. Suddenly he decided to become a man, and being next to the girl, he was wondering if she really sleeps. The guy remembered how before going to bed he was still a dog, and even began to copy the behavior of an ordinary dog. Namely, he did not want to sleep on the floor, and she was a bed with a girl. This angered the girl a little, and she did not understand why this evil demon behaves like a real dog, trying to get him out of bed. Gently touching the girl's hands, Harry whispered that she had been very long, but still fell asleep very quickly, and this was all due to the fact that she was still a child. Playing with the girl's palms, the guy told her that even though she doesn't have desires now, but if it appears soon, then he will enjoy. Suddenly, Harry heard some kind of rumble in the next room and immediately decided to see what was there. But due to the fact that he cannot walk freely around the mansion in the form of a man, he woke up the main character, who was at a loss and did not understand why she was woken up. Harry stated that someone broke into the living room and he was afraid that there might be an assassin. After that, they went together to see what happened there. Upon entering Iveria's room, he immediately saw one maid who was warming herself next to the fireplace. When she heard the main character ask what was happening here, the maid immediately got scared and did not even know how to react to it. Turning around, she began to cry and spare her, as she would not do this again. Looking at the maid, Iveria remembered that this is the girl who offered her tea, and her name is Emma. The girl stated that she is now in a desperate situation and was just thinking of stealing some fire. Iveria understood the maid and said that everything is fine and she can take some of the fire. Upon hearing this, the maid was at a loss, at the same time shocked because she did not know that Iveria was such a kind girl. In turn, the main character said that the things in this place are so important to her, especially when someone desperate tries to steal something. That's why Iveria lets her take some of the fire because she needs it more. Also, the main character did not understand why they do not distribute the fire everywhere. Emma replied that the Baron forbade everyone to take the fire outside the estate, since it is more needed here. Thinking, Iveria said that maybe the Baron has some good reason to do this, but people who freeze to death for the main character are more important. So Iveria herself will try to take fire, as the Baron will not be able to punish her. Leaving the mansion, the girls wanted to go beyond its territory, but there was a guard behind the cathedral, and they had to come up with something. Seeing the girls, the guy was at a loss, did not understand what they intended to do. Suddenly, Iveria said that the guy works too much at such a late hour, and she asked him to open the door. Seeing Milady, the guard was shocked because he did not expect to see her. At that moment, the main character said that she wanted to take a little walk and therefore she needed to open the gate. Petting her dog, she stated that her friend started whining to go for a walk. At that moment, the guard understood the whole situation. And at the moment when he wanted to say something to these girls, Harry bit the guy right on the hand. Suddenly, Iveria helped the guy by telling her dog not to do that. The guard, I'm worried, said that the Baron gave a clear order not to let anyone out of the mansion. Besides, now it's very late. They don't understand where they want to gather. Then the main character yelled at the guard, asking if he dared to block her path, which greatly frightened the guard, and he had a choice how to let the girls leave. Worried and stammering, the guy said that he would step aside because he did not want the main character to cut off his fingers. Iveria was at a loss, did not understand why she needed his fingers. Suddenly Emma said in a whisper that Milady was rumored to have a hobby of collecting human fingers. The main character was in a stupor, not understanding what she would do with these fingers since she had never done it. To which the maid replied that she did not know because she had never done it either. At the same moment, the guard excitedly opened the gate and allowed the girls to leave. Suddenly he ran to the heroines and said that he wanted to go with them, since now it is very dangerous and he will protect them. But Iveria asked the guy to at least close the gate, because if he didn't, then not only they would be in danger. And the whole mansion, hearing this, the guy would have no skills and didn't even know what to do. Then the main character asked him to stop and cry and follow her. If they get into trouble, she will tell them that she dragged him out. After a couple of minutes, the heroes were already in front of the door to the orphanage. Emma said that this place is familiar to her, since she spent all her childhood here. Opening the door, the main character saw a bunch of small children who were covered with a blanket and they were just freezing. They all asked for help because they could no longer endure this cold. And when they saw the maid, they immediately recognized her and ran to her. Harry looked at this and said that it was just awful since a lot of these kids were probably very cold. Meanwhile, Lionel was collecting wood all the way up here that they could use for the fireplace. At the same time, Emma was talking to the children who did not understand how they could light a fire from this tree, to which the maid replied that she had a friend who knew how to do it. Turning around, the child saw the main character who was looking at all this while children were playing with her dog. The girl was immediately frightened and ran back into Emma's arms. Iveria thought that the child had run away because of her angry face. Holding fire in her hands, the main character was going to set fire to the fireplace. But suddenly the child accidentally crashed into Iveria from this. She dropped the fire. Seeing this, Emma began to cry. I understand that all her hope is lost, and these children will freeze from this severe cold. At the same time, the girls tried to calm her down, saying that it was their mistake, but this did not help at all. At the same time, the main character, looking at all this, said that the children were crying because Emma, if she wants the children to calm down, then she should also calm down first. But the maid stammeringly said something was their last hope. And took a deep breath, Iveria asked Harry to light a fire. Harry asked if he should do this as there are so many witnesses in this room who will see that he is not really a dog, but a human. Looking into Harry's eyes, the main character said that they simply have no choice. I don't have to do this. Then the demon immediately turned into a man, declaring that he would do whatever his contractor asked. Suddenly the firewood that was in the cabin lit up, which shocked all the children who were in this room, and they could believe in this miracle. Looking at the main character, one child asked if she is a magician. She said that Iveria had magical abilities, but this must be kept secret and not told to anyone. Also, Iveria asked Emma and Lionel to keep everything that happened today a secret. After that, they all started to leave this orphanage together. However, the guard was in such a hurry that he even forgot his sword in the hands of one child. So he had to return and quickly pick up the sword. Meanwhile, Emma was talking about Iveria. When the main character first came to this mansion, the maid immediately lost all her clothes and for rumors about her, but the girl helped strangers, up to revealing her secret. So Emma declared that she would serve as the main character for the rest of her life. The next day, Iveria walked around the mansion and did not understand why all the servants treat her so well, and she was even a little scared of it. She quickly went into her room without understanding why the mood of everyone out loud changed so dramatically. Suddenly in the room, she noticed Emma, whom she decided to ask why everyone abruptly began to walk with such friendly facial expressions. To which the maid replied that this was all due to the fact that these servants were also villagers. Before that, That same morning, Iveria was talking to the butler and she was unhappy that only they had fire. So she advised the man to spread it among all people, as it would be better for the whole village. And that is why all the servants began to sharply love the main character and saw her true personality. Then the girl decided to sit down on her easy chair and finally, a little rest from this hard day. Meanwhile, Emma wanted to bring some tea for Iveria. However, the door opened and she immediately met her friend who told the maid some very interesting information which shocked her. Then returning to the main character who was sitting quietly and resting with her dog, the maid said that Crown Prince Kassane had come to find her. Heading towards the principal, the main character was at a loss and did not understand why he came, since they broke up and she asked him to never meet again. So she hopes that he will not cause her problems. Arriving at the room where the prince is, Kassane was delighted to see Iveria and said that she looked better here than in the royal capital. The main character asked him why he came here, to which the guy replied that he did not have any important reason, and he just wanted to see the girl. He also stated that she pretends that everything is fine with her. Most likely, however, she feels lonely in this place without him. At that moment, the main character realized that when she looks at the prince, he does not look so handsome as Harry, who is much more beautiful. The guy also said that he came here because it seems to him that the girl was heartbroken. At that moment, Iveria, playing with her dog, said that then he came for nothing. Suddenly, the guy didn't abruptly stand up, and screaming the name of the main character said that he didn't know before that he could feel so much love towards someone, and that's why he got engaged to her. However, when he met Catherine, he realized that he would never again be able to think about another girl, immediately wanted not to marry. At that moment, Iveria, I didn't understand what this prince still wants from her, and she asked if he wants her to congratulate him. Then the guy was delighted, and said that this is what he needs. Namely, he wants the main character to congratulate him along with Catherine. This shocked the girl a little. She did not understand what was wrong with this guy, and what nonsense he was talking about. After that, he approached the girl and, touching her face, the prince added that her father refused to support the mining business. And now, thanks to the main character, he's in big trouble, and all he wants is for her to cooperate with him. He also added that he was not going to give her the position of queen, but he could give her something else. There is an untapped magical stone mine in the western part of the empire, and it is expected that there is a huge amount of these magic stones in that place. But no one wants to take the first step due to the huge costs of mining these stones. But the Crown Prince faction was sponsored by the Oberon family, developed the mine, and he tried to gain the upper hand in the competition with First Prince. However, after their engagement was annulled, Oberon withdrew their support. At that moment, Iveria finally understood why this prince ran so quickly to her right away, and she thought that the cold-blooded duke would not even hear the request of his daughter. When he saw the prince hugging the main character, Harry was just furious, so he started barking at the prince, which scared him a lot, and because of this, the prince even fell to the ground. Having risen, Kassane was completely at a loss and did not understand what it had just happened and someone had done. Suddenly, the main character said that she did not know why the prince thought that she would be delighted with such an offer. She also said that he might not know this, but his body no longer attracts her, and it would be better if he now begs her to get what he wants. But Kassane did not want to humiliate himself, and left the room telling his guards that they needed to return to the royal capital as soon as possible. When the prince wanted to go down the stairs, he immediately stumbled and began to fall to the ground. As it turned out, Harry did it on purpose, which Iveria really liked, and she kissed the demon, which shocked him a little, and he felt embarrassed. After that, the main character told her ex-fiancé that most likely he has been working too much in recent days, and because of this, his legs have become too weak and he should worry about it. After that, laughing, she added that a weak body is still not the end of the world and he can continue to be a prince. Then Iveria went to her room where she immediately wanted to rest a little, as she was tired from all this. At the same time, Harry's head lay on her feet and asked the girl if she was happy. The main character was of course happy, since they had just gotten rid of the people who were talking some nonsense. However, the demon stated that for some reason he felt depressed. Chewing on the hair of the girl, Harry said that he helped the main character deal with the prince, and helped her with other things. In addition, he even diligently tries to restrain his desire to kill someone. But Iveria does not even ask how he feels, and this annoys him a little. At that moment, the main character said that she understood her mistakes. Upon hearing this, the guy was immediately delighted and thought that Iveria would finally allow him to deal with someone. However, the girl grabbed his hair like a dog and said that he was well behaved, thanking him for everything he did. She also realized that his hair felt very nice, which made Harry a little embarrassed. The guy said that she should learn more about who the demons are and who he is, to which the main character said that she knows perfectly well who he is. Harry was at a loss and said that in fact, she knows nothing and she still has a lot to learn. But in order to cheer up the demon, the girl took the cake, and this is a piece of Harry, in order for his mood to improve. Besides this, the main character does not understand why the demon likes to eat so many sweets, as once the demon ate 10 servings of cake, and the maids thought that Iveria did it. Calmly eating the cake, the guy said that he can't just reveal his desires, so he will do it by eating. For a demon, killing is a basic need, and this is similar to the appetite that people have. He certainly will not die unless someone dies. However, for him, it is torture. And in order to suppress this desire, he will need to eat like a pig for the rest of his life. Also, the guy said that he is actually trying very hard, but for him, it is getting harder and harder. Then Iveria asked if there are any other methods besides eating, and asked to tell about them quickly. Harry stated that in order to suppress this desire, he can use any method that brings him pleasure. After that, the girl asked him about what method he says, which greatly embarrassed the guy. He didn't know how to react to it. Then he decided to ask the girl how old she is. And when he heard that this year she turns 18, he said that she is still a crumb compared to him, which is why he cannot tell her about the method. At that moment, the main character wondered how old the demon was, to which I told you that he was exactly 2176 years old, which shocked the girl a little, and she called him a girl. After that, Harry said that he can't use this method with Iveria, so she should stop asking him about it. In Erel's fief, Black Forest, there is a wyvern's nest. These monsters have a very violent temperament and are pure carnivores with the body of a strong dragon. Besides that, they are natural enemies of humans, which is why its eggs must be difficult before other monsters hatch from them, in order to control it by population. However, it is very difficult to destroy these eggs, because this monster protects them. So the heroes entrust support from the royal family every year. In addition, if the northern trade route is destroyed, the royal family will suffer greatly. Second reason of Catherine's fishes are in this mountainous area. The first prince of Leiden Geraint, and everyone knows that he has a terrible relationship with Iveria. And Royal Knight's Captain Eli Loitz, he also can't get along with the main character. In the original story, this knight despised the main character, however, since he is openly showing this. In any case, Iveria said that she would try to sit in her room as much as possible in order not to meet these two guys in any way. However, the girl still decided to take a little walk, and she met these guys, which scared her a little, and she thought that she shouldn't have left her room. At that moment, the main character remembered Emma, who advised her to go to hot springs in Erel, as there would be a very pleasant atmosphere. Having met with the guys, the girl said that she did not expect someone to see them, since they said that they would be busy. Leiden grinningly said that they are still under complete control. However, the truth is that the main character, before being reincarnated into this body, was an employee in a trading company. This means that she often had to listen passively to whatever her boss said. After that, the girl asked if they had finished talking, since she needed to leave. But Leiden said that Iveria should rest like that after she tried to deal with Catherine. At that moment, the girl took a deep breath and said that she did not kill Catherine. Besides, everyone forgot about it. After that, she asked the guy if he was not the one who cheated on his bride with Catherine. Iveria also admitted that her methods were wrong, which is why she wants to spend the rest of her life in Erel. After that, the main character ran into hot water to relax. However, the girl did not understand why Harry is so far from her and does not want to rest with her. After that, she invited the guy to swim together. It's very nice here, but the demon said that he didn't want to. At that moment, the main character asked if this was due to the fact that he was shy. When Harry heard this, he immediately flinched and blushed all over. After that, the guy came up and pulled the main character out of the water, saying that it was time for them to leave. Suddenly, she noticed that all her clothes were dry, which greatly shocked her, and she did not understand how this happened, to which Harry replied that he was just using his magic. Smiling Guy added that the evaporation of moisture from only one part of the body seems very simple, but in fact you need to be extremely careful. At that moment, Everia, straightening her hair, said that Harry is a dryer. When the demon heard this, he was at a loss and did not understand what this word meant. Then the main character explained to him that the dryer is not a person, but a tool with which you can dry your hair. Then the demon smilingly said that now it can be called better and a dryer, since no one can dry things better than him. After the characters slowly returned to the palace, they met Sir Eloitz, who most likely was waiting for someone or simply decided to take a walk in the evening. When he saw the characters, he immediately turned around and left, which surprised the main character a little, and she did not understand where he was going. Harry looked at the guy and said that he looked a lot like another guy who was next to the man who called him last time. Also, Eloitz was as quiet back then as he is now, and Harry didn't know if he could speak at all, or if he was just combining his speaking skills with swordsmanship skill. After that, the heroes went back to the mansion to sleep, since it was already night. While in the mansion, the main character, dressed in her pajamas, told Emma that she would go to bed because she was very tired after hot springs. But upon entering the room, Everia immediately noticed Harry, who was lying on her bed, and she did not understand what he was doing there. Approaching the guy, the main character asked him not to fool around because she was very tired and she wanted to sleep. But the guy was at a loss and didn't understand why she just didn't sleep with him as before. Well, the main character replied that then he was a dog and now he's in human shape. At that moment, Harry said that he really wants to see the bloodshed again. He did not understand why the girl constantly ignores him, since it is very difficult for him to endure his basic desires. Since Everia was very tired, she did not want to listen to her boyfriend and said that she would listen to him tomorrow, since she now really wants to sleep. So the girl just decided to sleep on another bed, which surprised the guy a little because he didn't want that. Looking into the eyes of the girl, the demon understood that he was now at the limit, and Everia did not understand his state now. After that, the guy began to slowly pester the main character. Waking up, Everia was at a loss, and said that no matter how much Harry whines, she will by no means start a war. She also asked him to get off since he is very heavy. Suddenly looking at the guy's face, the main character noticed that he was behaving too strangely, and he didn't listen to her at all. After that, the guy continued to undress the main character, and approaching her lips, he intended to kiss her with the words that he was having a hard time now. Suddenly, Everia hit the demon on the head, and the blow was so strong that the guys were able to return to normal. He immediately began to say something that hurt, and why she suddenly decided to hit the demon who did nothing. Having heard this, the main character was bewildered and showed that because of him, a hickey remained on her neck, and Harry almost ate it. The guy was in complete shock because he could not remember how he did it, and he himself did not understand why he bit her there. Thinking, the main character realized that the demons really do not lie. At that moment, the demon began to explain to the girl that this is what he was talking about. Namely, he reached his limit, and he does not even understand what is happening. After that, Harry apologized, stating that he's actually not always that reckless. That's not the kind of demon he was, and that he was able to see blood again for the first time in a long time. Grin, the main character, thought that her life could now end because of the demon that eats people in order to fulfill her desire. And this is a very strange fate. Touching her finger to her chin, the girl asked if there was any other way to suppress his desire. After this, Hero decided to read some books. Everia was at a loss, did not understand why people summon demons only to take revenge on someone or to gain strength. Then the demon said that this is the norm. Since no one calls demons to set fire to the fireplace, the main character also said that they can't find another way to solve his problem either. Harry stated that then they could just go to war and solve his problem forever, which Everia did not like much, since she is trying from all villages to find some solution to the problem for him. Hearing this, the guy said with a smirk that she just didn't want her to be eaten, to which the main character immediately agreed, because what normal person wants to be eaten? At that moment, the demon said that when he talks about what he will eat, he does not mean that he will eat her flesh. Everia at the beginning did not understand what Harry was talking about, but after that, she thought that he was actually talking about her blood that he wants drink. Then the demon immediately turned around and said that they should finish this conversation since he is now communicating with undercooked crumb, which still does not know much. Suddenly, the girl heard some screams coming from outside and decided to look out the window where she saw a bunch of knights who had gathered somewhere. Then she realized that today is the day of the wyvern subjugation, although she thought that this day would be next month. She remembered how Emma advised the main character to stay at home for 1 month, since these wyverns are very dangerous, and she will only be able to walk around at about noon, since the main weakness of these monsters is the rays of the sun. And Iveria does not understand why these monsters are so strong. Suddenly, some idea came to mind. She asked Harry if it is difficult to catch a wyvern. The demon replied that it is very difficult for humans to do this since they can barely break the eggs of this monster, even if these eggs are already very fragile. Looking at the guy, the main character said that then they should not worry, since for the demon it would not be difficult. Grinning, Harry said that Iveria didn't know anything about Archmage's power at all. But the main character said something good, and suggested to the demon to have a round in this refreshing war. Meanwhile, the knights are already in some field, and suddenly one knight approached Eloitz, saying that the captains should look at this as soon as possible. After that, they went to some nest where there was absolutely nothing, which surprised the guys a little. And then they realized that the wyverns have been massacred, and next to them was the body of one of this wyvern. A week later, Eloitz is in Leiden's office and told him that it's hard for them to kill even one wyvern, but someone did it in 1 day. The search party is investigating this case. However, they have no results yet. Leiden was in complete shock and assumed that there was some kind of monster that was much stronger, and he suggested that it would be better if the captain ordered his knights to return, and they asked the royal capital to send more troops. At that moment, Eloitz stated that it was most likely not some kind of monster, since there were traces of fire on the body of that wyvern. Besides, they usually use fire. Then Leiden stated that there is most likely another group of knights who were able to deal with that monster, and they are most likely very strong. Eloitz was a little shocked and could not believe that ordinary people could deal with such a wyvern. Eloitz is a very fair person who always chooses the right path, and he has no holy motives. The Garant Empire has it so that the right to succeed the throne goes to the eldest son. However, after Leiden's mother died, Cassian overtook him and became crown prince. However, there are still people who support Leiden on the basis of legitimacy, so the queen always kept him in check. I sent him to join Sir Eloitz's commanding subjugation troop, in the hope that he will somehow make a mistake and get the blame for it. But now they're talking about the appearance of an unidentified powerful being, and how that might affect his mother's decision, while Iveria watches the wyvern burn. As it turned out, all these monsters were dealt with all this time by Harry, who in this way could finally have fun. Looking at this, the main character noticed that the demon looked really happy. Despite this, she realized that she had actually summoned an incredible demon. After the guy did not finish his business, he said with a smirk that now they can go, since now he feels good. Hearing this, the girl was a little surprised because all this time the demon did not stop, and asked them to stay a little longer. But now, he suddenly wants them to return home. Harry explained this by noticing that the girl was bored, and at that moment the main character realized that after a week, Harry was still able to learn to be attentive. Then she stated that recently she noticed that the guy became quieter. Harry explained that he was afraid that the girl would be afraid of him because of what he does with these monsters. In addition, from a human point of view, his strength seems deafening and amazing. But the demon tries to treat his contractors well, so he asked the main character not to be afraid of him. At the moment when Iveria wanted to say something to the guy, a huge monster attacked them, for which the heroes were not at all ready. This wyvern was much larger than the rest of the individuals. I do not understand where he came from and what he is doing here. Suddenly this monster began to speak in human language and declared that he was the leader of the wyverns. The main character was in complete shock and whispered to the guy who gently hugged her that she didn't even know that these monsters can talk. Harry said that monsters really can't talk, and this wyvern is just a mystical creature like him. Suddenly the monster came close to the heroes, asked why they kill his relatives. The demon immediately realized that this monster did not come here just to find fault with over this, although he was himself in the south. At that moment, the main character thought that if this happened, they would find another way to satisfy the desire of the demon. So she decided to tell the monsters what their problem is. Taking a step forward, Iveria said, "What if we lose our minds if they don't indulge their desires to slaughter?" So they were catching wyverns while thinking about other ways to solve this problem. Suddenly the monster said that there is another way to satisfy his desire. But Harry screaming said that the girl is still too young to do that. He also asked the demon if his relatives were not trying to protect the little monsters, just like Harry have been doing as a demon. Upon hearing this, the monster apologized and said that he had wrong thoughts, but he still worries about the population of his kind, since they can completely die out. Stroking this monster, Iveria said that they prevent trade, as well as the cutting and harvesting of logs, and she decided to do it because she was told that these monsters greatly interfere with people and harm them. In addition, she did not know that they could speak the same language as people. At that moment, the monster said that from now on, people can do all these things, and wyverns will not interfere with them in any way, but only they need to stop killing his relatives. However, Harry didn't like it as he still needs to solve his problem, and if they stop catching monsters, he will get sick. But Wyvern's leader stated that a lot of his relatives died, and they need to stop. Despite all this, the main character understood that Harry's problem is very urgent, but killing monsters that can speak the same language as them is wrong. Then she screamed, stating that they would stop catching monsters, which the demon did not like much, and he was a little upset. After that, the monster gave a piece of his scales to Iveria, said that if they meet his relatives again, he will immediately recognize his scales and will follow the words of the main character. When Iveria heard this, she was shocked and delighted with such a gift. After that, Wyvern left, calling the girl Squirrel. Also flying away, he said that he can be called at any time when needed. In addition, Starfish knows a way to call him. Harry was at a loss and did not understand why he was called Starfish, but the girls even liked the name on the contrary, and she started laughing. When the hero was left alone with the demons, he was simply in shock. He didn't understand why Iveria chose the side of the monster. The protagonist said that she could not let more of these monsters die because of his fault, since she had a conscience after all. And she stated that she was going another way to satisfy his desire. In addition, they now have the scales of Wyvern with which they can control monsters, and now they are not in danger. Suddenly, they heard something strange. Looking at the sky, they noticed how a huge swarm of these monsters was heading towards them. Then Iveria decided something perfect moment to test this scale, and in doing so, she was able to apologize to the monsters for killing their relatives, and the monsters did nothing to them. Suddenly, out of nowhere appeared Lionel, who, holding a sword in his hands, fell to the ground. He tried in every possible way to protect the main character. When the girl approached him, he was not even able to get up and said that Iveria would definitely protect her, although he himself was very afraid of these monsters and did not even know what to do now. However, the main character did not understand how he was going to protect her, since his sword is far from him. Suddenly looking to the side, "Where did you see other knights who did not understand what was happening here at all?" At that moment, Iveria realized that he might have problems. Therefore, he needed to get out of this place as quickly as possible. Using the scales, she asked one monster to help them get out of that place, and in a moment they were already on the back of this wyvern. Iveria couldn't believe what was happening, so she started screaming. Harry thought that Boris's girlfriend decided to hug her tighter so that she wouldn't accidentally fall, but the girl said that she was not afraid of the survey, surprised by the speed of movement. Besides that, she doesn't think she can compare riding a horse to this. Flying over some castle, all the people who were in it were shocked to see the wyvern and immediately began to scream in fear and hid. After that, the hero landed in the same castle, where they were immediately surrounded by knights with balls who were ready to pounce on them because there was a monster next to them. But the main character asked them not to attack. Leiden and El Loitz were shocked when they saw this and did not understand how this was even possible. Then Iveria said that she wanted to talk to the prince alone. Being in his office, the main character said that now she had a new friend. The prince was at a loss. did not understand how usually the girl was able to tame such a strong monster. He was also very interested. If she has any guarantees that she controls him completely, then the girl said that he had no reason to deceive him, since she would have been caught right away. After that, the main character said that she wanted to pay tribute to the prince. Namely, she asked him to report to the royal family that the problem with the wyverns was permanently resolved. Leiden was a little surprised by what he said and asked what he would get in return for this, to which the main character replied with a smirk that now, she does not have to look at those people whom she does not want to see. In addition, she is thinking about continuing to live here. Also, if the problem with the monsters is solved, then the royal family will no longer be interested in Erel, and this is the way to resolve the relationship. The prince was at a loss, and asked Iveria if this is the only reason for handing over the credit to him. Iveria replied that she simply did not want to hand over the credit to Crown Prince, since he completely got her when he came to her for the last time. In the original, Leiden left when his brother became king, but after a couple of months his body was found on a distant continent, and he was most likely killed by his own brother. Suddenly Leiden said that he was ready to take the poisoned chalice that she gives him, which surprised the main character a little, since she does not give him any poison. She also asked him to talk tomorrow about all the details, since today it is already late, and she wants to sleep. Leaving, Iveria noticed that Eloitz was following her, and she asked why he was following her. But the girl immediately realized that this guy does not like to talk at all, and most likely he will not answer. So she explained to him that she has a dog that will help her get home. Suddenly the captain spoke up and said it was already late at night, so he couldn't let the lady go out alone. When the main character heard this, she was simply shocked because she realized that his voice really sounds very pleasant. Turning around, she blushed all over and thought his beautiful face and beautiful face. Iveria was very interested in why Eloitz did not talk at all if he had such a pleasant voice, because if she had such a voice, she would talk every day. At that moment, the knight remembered how, as a child, his brothers mocked him. The Leutz family was renowned for their knights, however, because he was small, he had a tiny frame, and was often ostracized by his brother. Before he went through puberty, his voice was like a girl's, and because of this, his brothers bullied him. However, after he grew up, Eloitz realized that in fact his brothers were jealous of him because he inherited the blood of the family the most. He became the tallest, and he had a deep voice. But because of his childhood trauma, it is still very difficult for him to communicate with others. However, when Iveria said that she liked his voice, at first he thought that she was just mocking him, but now he realized that she was speaking sincerely. At that moment, the main character looked at his facial expression and did not understand why it was so strange, and it looked as if no one had ever complimented his voice before her. After that, he said that they had come, and now he needs to leave. At the same time, the main character was completely at a loss, and thought that most likely she had made a mistake. While in her bed, the main character was about to go to bed, as she was very tired from this hard day. Suddenly, Harry, looking straight at the girl's eyes, said that he was very upset, but the girl told him that he had not already dealt with a huge number of monsters, and he should stop. Also, the girl, getting very close to the guy's face, asked if he would continue to be constantly upset. She wanted to somehow entertain him. It didn't work out in any way, and she was already very tired. Harry, lying on the bed without a mood, asked the girl to do this for the last time so that he would not feel lost. But Iveria said that he should stop doing it, and already on the bed she was thinking about another way to help the demon. Also, the girl asked how long Harry can hold on, to which the guy replied that if you don't use magic, then he can hold on for a couple of months. But he continues to turn into a dog. Because of this, he can only hold on for 1 month. At that moment, the main character said that if she did not find some other way in a month, then the demon would tear off her neck and kill her. When he heard this, the guy was in complete shock. He did not understand how Iveria could have such dirty thoughts. Holding his head, the demon said that in fact it was not so, and she should just continue to look for another way without worrying about him. After that, the demon asked what the girl thought about the credit she gave to the prince earlier. At that moment, the main character began to explain that she wants them to have knights who will fly wyverns. They will be called dragon knights, and most likely they will be the first in the world to fly dragons. Plus, since she has the scales of the wyvern's leader, she will be able to demand that these dragons collaborate with humans. And of course, those who will ride the wyverns will be her frost knights. Besides, the girl still has the hide and the claws of all the wyverns that were killed during the royal family's lifetime. Iveria said that people have no chance to catch these magical beasts with their power alone, and accordingly the royal family can't lose anything. Even if the Oberon family gets stronger, they can't help but believe their loyalty. The next day, the main character was again at the same table with Leiden, who was very surprised at this proposal and said that he liked it. Then the girl asked him to write good things in her report. For example, about how calm and peaceful this place is. Sipping tea, she said that she was doing all this in order to live without having to see him every day. Suddenly the girl wondered why if Leiden didn't like her either. Why he just don't pick a fight with her, which surprised the guy a little, and he didn't understand what the main character wanted to say. At that moment, Iveria asked him not to pretend, since he should know perfectly well what she was talking about, namely lumber. She also asked if Okal made a one-sided decision to cut off the lumber deal. When he heard this guy was at a loss and said, "The weather in this place is so harsh that without burning lumber there is no way to do it, and they would never do it." In addition, the Okal store is widely known to be persuaded by money, and they're clearly benefiting from this deal. But the guy can't believe his uncle could cut off a deal just because of his personal issues. And so the prince thought that Erel was the one who broke it off unilaterally. At that moment, the heroes realized that something suspicious was going on here. Iveria said that Count Melior is the one who manages the Oberon family and the Okal shop. If something happens between them, then some person will benefit greatly from it. The prince said that he had a guess who it might be, but couldn't say his name so nonchalantly. The girl asked if he had any way to confirm his suspicions. He added he has a reliable guide, and he might be connected to Luke somehow. Luke is the Information Guild's leader who is a genius and uses the transformation technique. He was strangely friends with Leiden that ignored their social statuses. The prince, who was in disguise, accidentally met with Luke. Together, they dealt with numerous cases and became real friends. However, this was before they met Catherine. After that, he said that they really are in front of Iveria, and he will soon pay her off. After a little thought, the girl asked him to pay her with money, to which the guy immediately agreed and said that she spoke just like his uncle. And thus, the conversation between the characters ended smoothly. But the last obstacle remained, namely that the knights could never get used to these dragons. Iveria was in her mansion, where, together with the butler, they watched how her knights tried to get along with the dragons, but they did not succeed. She was upset that her knights weren't even able to get on the wyvern. Knights usually only serve one master from the Oberon family, but in order for her fifth order of knights to face the wyverns, they need to become closer to the mercenaries and not swear loyalty to anyone in the Oberon family. Therefore, Iveria thought that in this way she could kill two birds with one stone, since they could reconcile with the wyverns, and the knights would avoid becoming unemployed. However, this does not work out for her. Suddenly, Leiden appeared behind the girl, who noticed that it was not at all easy for her to be a knight, and he offered to send these dragons to the royal knights. At the same time, the prince is too close to Iveria. This is an inequality for her, so she pushed him away, saying that now she does not want any relationship. Smiling Guy replied that the main character is the only girl who is cold-blooded towards him. After that, the prince approached the girl and gave her some kind of envelope, saying that he was finally repaying her debt. Opening the envelope, Iveria was simply shocked and asked the prince if he was sure of this. As it turned out, there was a blank check in the envelope in which a girl can write any amount of money that she wants to receive. She was happy to ask Leiden if he was not afraid that she would write very expensive things there. Since when did he have such confidence in her? Smiling, the prince replied that from the moment they met when the girl wanted to go to the hot springs, he also added that she was right. Since all this time, the guy thought that people could not change. He was also very interested if the girl had any thoughts of returning back to the capital, to which the main character replied that unfortunately, she could not solve it. After that, the prince said that he thought they would meet again back in the royal capital. Suddenly, he remembered that she could exchange this check only in the main office located in the royal capital, which greatly shocked the girl, and she realized that he did this on purpose so that she would return to the capital. After a while, Leiden was already in his room. Suddenly he noticed some man who said that he had brought a letter from Sir Fisherman. Then the prince sank if that fisherman said something else to the delivery man, to which the man replied that he simply ordered him to deliver the letter, and that's it. At that moment, the prince said that if this is so, then it was not he who was supposed to deliver this letter, and immediately took out his sword in order to deal with this delivery man. As it turned out, these men were actually Luke, who was very interested in how long the prince had known him. Also, the guy was unhappy because his disguise was just perfect, but they still managed to reveal him. Leiden said the letter was too thin, and if it was really his letter, it wouldn't fit on such small paper. Plus, Fisherman is using other people to deliver the letters, and the only person the prince could think of, it was only Luke. But the prince was now very interested to know his friend's answer to his request, to which Luke replied that that's as far as people from Mamani could find out. Leiden was a little surprised when he heard this and realized that both of them are still at it, and he did not understand why then Luke is here. Meanwhile, the main character was in her house with Harry, who, in the form of a dog, just rested and didn't worry about anything. Suddenly, Emma approached the girl and asked why the main character did not want to attend the festival for the subjugation party and see them off. Then the main character, realizing that her maid has been living here for a long time, asked her to show the surroundings here, and asked if she was going to go somewhere, to which the maid immediately answered, "No, since she is at work now." In response, she asked if Iveria wants to go with Prince Leiden, which surprised the main character a little, and she does not understand why she should go to the festival with him. When she heard how the main character called the prince, the maid immediately got scared and said that it was not normal to call him that, since you could accidentally curse him. Smiling, the main character said that the maids should not worry because Iveria is sure that her colleagues curse her too. Hearing this, Emma started to cry, saying that she would never do that, and the main character should not think so badly of them. After that, the maid immediately apologized and said that she likes Iveria, as she is a very good person. At that moment, the main character realized that Emma was the first person who said that she was cute. Suddenly, the maid strongly recommended the main character to still go to today's festival with the prince, and in this way he can see what kind of person Iveria really is. At the moment when the heroine said that in fact she does not want to be chosen by someone, to which Emma agreed, and said that the main character can shine alone, and she does not need to be chosen by someone. Besides, the prince will for her be a common accessory. After that, she added that Milady should choose her accessories in order to shine even brighter, and that's what men were made for. Suddenly, while the girls were talking, another maid said that Iveria had come to visit. As it turned out, it was Eloince, whom the main character had been waiting for a long time. When she saw how the guy began to communicate freely, the girl said that he should have spoken so freely for a long time, since his voice was not at all strange. Then Iveria realized that the knight was still able to forget about his complexes and start speaking freely. After that, the knight said that he thought of something while watching the rain this morning. Namely, he wants to go back to the royal capital tomorrow. So he cheekily apologized for coming here without an appointment in order to give the girl some book. Taking the book, the main character said that it was very bold. This book had a picture of a knight on the cover. Eloince said that this is a manual that explains how to assemble horse armor. But besides that, this book also explains how to assemble the stirrups and the saddles, and the prince thought this book would be useful for the man who will ride the wyvern. After that, the heroes decided to read the book a little, and the main character realized that the wyvern is much larger than the usual horse and will move roughly, so saddles will be needed. In addition, this dragon will be difficult to control alone, especially if it has armor. In addition to this, the weight of a person is also very important. Iveria came up with a small idea, but it will be quite difficult to implement. All of a sudden, Harry thought that dwarfs could do it, so he decided to bark at the girl, saying dwarfs can do everything, so she should give her all the necessary materials, and they will do everything. But they are very hard to find, as they are introverts who do not like people. In addition, they live in villages that are deep in the mountains, and if Iveria manages to find them, then she can pursue them or not threaten. At that moment, the girl thanked Eloince for his help and said that she would pay him later. At the same time, Emma came into the room and said that the tea was ready. Seeing that the characters had already finished talking, She blushed and asked if they were both going on a date. When the main character heard this, she was in complete shock and tried in every possible way to hint at the maid to stop, as she now feels very embarrassed. At the same time, Eloince would be at a loss and did not understand what she was talking about. Holding her head, Iveria said something. Just a common misunderstanding, and the maid just thought they were going on a date. While the heroes were completely at a loss, Emma tried in every possible way to hint to the guy to invite the main character on a date, and they went to the festival together, because if he doesn't do this, the main character will be lonely all her life. Eloince understood what the servant was leading, and asked Iveria if she wanted to go to the festival with him, which left the main character in a stupor a little. Meanwhile, at the festival, all the people were having a great time, and music was playing everywhere, and there were fireworks. The main character, looking at all this, realized that this festival is more organized than she originally thought. Walking with Eloince at the festival, she felt very uncomfortable. Also, for some reason, Harry walked between them. All of a sudden, a man from behind said, smiling, that he felt embarrassed even looking at the heroes. And this man was very similar to Leiden, but he asked himself to be called Ethan. Ethan put his hand on the shoulder of Eloince, which the knight didn't like a little, and he asked not to do it anymore. At that moment, the knight realized that in fact it was not Leiden, but Luke who changed his appearance. The main character, despite all this, felt very embarrassed and wanted to get home faster because she feels between the fish. Suddenly, Harry came up to Iveria and offered to go in order to look around, to which the girl immediately agreed. After that, the main character found some man who said that anyone can win money from him, if he can do so that it fall upright, and all her coins will be multiplied by 3. Suddenly, Harry turned into his human form, which greatly frightened the girl, and she asked him why he suddenly decided to become a man back. The guy replied that he was already so expensive in the form of a dog that he begins to forget that he is not a dog. After that, looking the main character straight in the eyes, he asked if she only sees him as a dog. Iveria's entire face turned red, and she didn't even know how to answer this question because every time she sees his face it feels unreal. At that moment, the demon also blushed, and said that it seemed to him that the main character liked him. But the girl replied that she liked it. Only his face was not, and that's all. She also added that having a beautiful appearance and having a beautiful personality are 2 different things. At that moment, the demon immediately thought that something was wrong with his personality. Then Iveria asked the demon to look in that direction as something strange was happening there. Namely, some children asked this man to give them all the money, as they noticed how he changed something there. But the man did not want to return anything and asked for proof. Then, in a whisper, the main character asked Harry to help her scold this man. And if the demon can figure out all his tricks, then the main character will be able to take all his money. Harry stated that her plan was very good but slow, so he immediately used his magic to set the man's stall on fire. The demon liked it a lot and started laughing out loud, while Iveria was a little shocked by his actions and said that now is the time to run away as soon as possible. After this, the hero found a hidden place in which they decided to hide from that man. But due to the fact that they ran too much, the main character was very tired and the demon wanted to help her in every possible way, not understanding why she was so tired and recommending her to calm down and just talk to him. Suddenly, some old woman touched the girl's hand and she immediately ran into Harry's arms. "I don't understand what this old man wants from her." This is an old woman in a raincoat holding some kind of ring in her hand and asked Iveria to take it away. "This is so. This belongs to her." The girl said that in fact it was not her ring, but the old woman grabbed her hands and forcibly gave her the ring. After that, he immediately left. After looking at the ring, the main character was shocked after that, as it was very familiar to her, and she did not understand how it got here. Iveria remembered that this ring, she bought an ancient ring that was made from the sun god's heart on a business trip to Peru before she reincarnated into this book, and she once boarded the plane after buying that. The main character did not want to find out where some old woman got her ring from a past life, but she was already able to disappear somewhere. After that, being in her room, the girl was completely at a loss. She didn't understand where that old woman had her ring from. She suggested that there might be another ring, but with the same shape. But if that's the case, then she doesn't understand why this ring fits her finger perfectly. Also, after that old lady disappeared, Harry said that even though he didn't feel any energy coming from her, he felt strangely unpleasant. Suddenly, Emma came into the room and said that the knights were returning to the capital, and she asked if she would not go to meet them. Having heard this, the main character was at a loss and did not understand why she should do this. Then Emma said that Iveria would not be able to meet Sir Loitz for a while, so he is leaving now. At the same time, Harry noticed something very suspicious about this maid and decided to tell that it was not really Emma, someone else. He recognized it by the smell of blood, since here it is very different. When Iveria heard this, she was a little surprised. She didn't understand who it could be since Emma didn't have a double. Suddenly, the girl remembered who her maid could be, and it was Luke.